There is a massively overdone video on YouTube where the host tells you that they've switched to Android after 10 years on iOS, or that long-term Android fanboys have recently discovered an iPhone. Today is not that day. I want to tell you why in my review time with the Pixel 6, I started to recognise and appreciate the evolution and great improvements that Google has made to its Pixel lineup, and why Apple may be cruising a little bit. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and I've been reviewing smartphones on YouTube for around 6 years full time. I've been between iOS and Android over the past 6 years, I'm not biased to one or the other, but the past 2 years I've been using the iPhones, the iPhone 11, the 12 mini and the 14 Pro. In that time, Samsung's S flagships have felt like they've been luring me off of the iPhones. They're just incredible smartphones, but that's not what we're here to discuss. Before we start talking about the Pixel, I want to turn your attention to just how stale the iPhones have been getting lately. Sure, all iPhones have been the same since the 10 if you look at it in a top-down view, but I can't give that argument because I recently discussed just how much progress Apple has made in the 5 years. TLDR, it's substantial, but it's more so that there's a concerning lack of wow factor and a presence of issues that once upon a time would have Apple landing in the headlines. Whether you're talking about the stubborn lack of periscope zoom camera, the very matte and subtle colours, the annoying and incessant inclusion of the lightning port, or the straight up unergonomic flat sides, the already too scared to push the boat out Apple is looking really stale at the moment. Look at the hardware innovations from Sony and its cameras, Xiaomi with its designs, or Google with its software features. These are exciting and make me want to go out and buy them. The iPhone though, not so much. But that's not even the worst part. Samsung has come a long way in recent years with its software support, and I find One UI to be one of, if not the best Android skin, especially on an S flagship. iOS used to be reliable, dependable, predictable, but I've had so many bugs on my iPhone in the past 30 days, it's just kind of put me off. I've now had 3 separate occasions where the phone has required a forced restart to function correctly, whether that is because the navigation bar is missing from the bottom and therefore you cannot perform any gestures and have to force restart it, or 2 times where it just straight up crashed and I had to force restart it. I have never had issues like this on an iPhone before. I've had issues with apps individually too, and whilst the bugs do get fixed, and have done in my case, I'm sure Apple will put the effort in going forward, but there's a distinct lack of polish that Apple once boasted. It's not the same Apple that I grew up admiring, and the whole "it just works" is, for all intents and purposes, a thing of the past. Which brings us to the Pixel 6. I wasn't going into my review of this thing with silly high expectations. It's a year old, it's the step down model, and it's now very cheap on the used market. But even after just a week with it, it had me wanting to jump ship from iPhone. This thing looks great. It's a unique style that Google absolutely nailed. The visor reminds me of the Nexus 6P and actually also the legendary Pixel 2 XL. This grey colour looks good, but the other colours look even better. I'm really annoyed that Google changed this design with the Pixel 7 by implementing a metal camera bar instead of leaving the glass visor, because if it had kept with the visor bar, I'd have already placed my order for the new Pixel. The metal one just doesn't look very good. The display and cameras are also really good. Sure, maybe not as technically excellent on the Pixel 6 compared to the 14 Pro, but look at the price. Google makes up for its lesser camera hardware with immense software and has done for the past, forever really. The Pixel has never had class-leading hardware when it comes to its camera. It's always relied on heavy software to do most of the lifting. And yeah, the Google Tensor 1 chip is quick, but it's nowhere near the A16 Bionic. I'm not that mad. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, please do check out the podcast in the description, and also hit like and subscribe, it helps the channel out. But that software, combined with the hardware design, is what infatuated me about the Pixel 6. It's so slick and has so many great features. Don't even get me started on how much better Google Assistant is than Siri, it's just a joke at this point. And stuff like what's playing, the way better always on display, the motion features in the camera app, there are so many useful bits and pieces presented in a polished and satisfying way. This isn't to say that the Pixel software is perfect. As you all probably know, when the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro came out, they were a buggy mess on Android 12. But since Android 13 has come out, or at least in its developer previews, we're getting much more stable builds and the phones feel way more polished. But right now, if I'm picking between these two, it's the Pixel 6. The software is cleaner, the aesthetic is perfect in my eyes, even more so than the Pro. And if I can snag one on eBay for £250 to £300, you may be seeing me carrying one of these around, even if it's alongside my iPhone. It's just that good. I just want to sort of pre-reply to the comments saying bias. Firstly, the word you're looking for is biased. Goddamn Zoomers. And secondly, how can I be biased if I, own an iPhone, paid full price for it, have owned Pixels and, the Nexus devices from back in the day, owning them, paying full price, the same for the Samsung Galaxies. I'm not biased in any way. These are just my thoughts. This is an opinion piece after all. And with that, I want to, leave today's video. That's pretty much my thoughts on the whole thing. I'm sure either my review will have gone out just before this video or just after this video, and in there I'll go more in depth into the actual, Pixel 6 itself and less about just comparing it to the iPhone. I want to give a massive shout out to the lover of tech, aka Ben Abuagi, who has lent me this phone. He's a really good friend of mine. His content is incredible. The man has a crazy work ethic, also works for Sam Mobile. So yeah, crazy content. Check that stuff out. I'll put his links in the video description. He was able to send out the Pixel 6 and actually sent out the Pro when I reviewed that. So massive shout out to him. I want to thank my patrons for being continually supportive, and if you do want to check out my Patreon and other links, as well as a pretty cool podcast, one episode actually did feature Ben in it, then do check out the links in the video description. It's now available on Spotify, it's about to be available on Google Podcasts, but it's also available on Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts. Trying to remember there. I've been Ryan Thomas. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Peace.